Hi everyone, I'm Runner Unchained. Welcome to the Syndicate, a Star Wars podcast that I've been wanting to do. And I had to bring a good friend of mine named Logan from Star Wars Doctrine, who I've met a few years ago, and I knew I just had to finally geek out about the Book of Boba Fett with him. That is just adding stuff and going a different direction. And Logan, say hi to everybody.
Hey everyone, happy to be here with you, Roman. So excited to be on your
Uh,
podcast.
Episode 3, The Streets of Mos Espa, directed by Robert Rodriguez. I dug it, man. I dug it so much. And I'm going to say this for everyone. There's spoilers coming ahead. If you haven't seen the episode, I highly recommend you go watch it and then make up your own opinions about it. And if you want to hear thoughts about it, we'll give you here a little few minutes rundown of what we thought about it. But I'll start off that I think it added so much lore and brought up world building stuff that I've been wanting. And we spent 75% of the time that we usually spend on flashbacks on the present time involving mafia vibe stuff between, which again, there's a cool line about like there's three families that took the power vacuum when Big Fortuna was in control. I'm like, oh, that sounds like Godfather line, like the head of the five families. Well, here's the three families of Mos Espa. That's what I took out the most of it. There's mentions of the witches of Dathomir. I mean, there's a Rancor with Danny Trejo as the as the Rancor keeper. Black Chrysanthemum, or just Chrysanthemum, if you will, does an assassination attempt. I mean, what the hell, man? What did you think, man? What did you think out of this episode for you?
Well, I think what I've kind of felt with the Boba Fett show so far is that we get kind of one episode that seems to be kind of a setup episode, if you will,
Right.
kind of establishing what we're going to look forward to in the next episode. And then the second episode really delves into that and gives you a lot of what you were waiting for. So the first
Right.
episode, you get some background. Okay, we're going to have flashbacks. We're going to be going to the Tuscans. But we're also going to be seeing Boba Fett has this power struggle back, right? Second episode, absolutely amazing. Just insane amount of Tuscan lore, all of this stuff, everything you wanted to and everything was set up so perfectly in the first episode. And this third episode, I feel like kind of continues that trend where it's like, all right, so we're going to kind of set up, here's a few more problems that Boba Fett's going to have to face, things like that. Like you said, a lot more was in the present. I mean, we got the Pikes. We're obviously showing the Pikes are a huge problem for him in the past and also now
In the
as well.
present. Yeah.
So that's obviously coming full circle. Having the machete as Rancor keeper is absolutely fantastic.
I freaked the F out, man.
We're like, I remember we were watching it with Cody, my buddy,
Right.
and the Rancor pulls up. We're like, is that Danny Trejo? No, it's not. They didn't get him to randomly cameo as a Rancor keeper. Like, nope, they did. It was the best thing ever. Yeah, Black Chrysanthemum, seeing him in action. I mean, I would have wished the fight scene personally went on a little longer, and I do think Boba Fett's fighting so far has been lacking in this series.
Right.
I will say that I mean, you saw Boba Fett just go freaking ham on everyone in that first episode that he appears in The Mandalorian.
Right.
Just obliterates every stormtrooper you've ever seen, either with his armor or with his gaffy stick, and it is amazing. But in the Book of Boba Fett, I do think his fighting has been lacking. So I'd like to see, maybe kind of Boba Fett start fighting maybe a little better, especially more in the present day ones. The flashbacks he's done pretty well, but the present day stuff, I'd like to see a little bit more of, obviously, how badass Boba Fett really is. So, but overall, great episode and just an emotional episode for sure.
I agree. To me, the thing I could not suspend my disbelief, but why not be like, all right, in The Mandalorian, he was just fresh out of living the Tuscan life, and now he went full Conan the Barbarian, and now he's got to recover from doing all that badassery that we saw in episode 7, or the first his reappearance that Robert Rodriguez introduced, the tragedy. So I don't mind that, even though I do hope that, yes, like you say, that by the end of it, he tries to go into the back tub or pod, and he goes, no, I'm back. If I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out swinging, and he just goes dial up to 11 from what we saw in the tragedy episode. I am surprised. Yes, so we'll get this out of the way. I love what they've been doing with between the Mandalorian and Boba Fett of adding lore to the mythology of Tusken Raiders and now Rancors. I've really dug that a lot. Like I said, last episode was probably a better paced, better edited episode, even though the majority of it was in the past.
Right.
It was sufficient in that, but to me, as much as I love that, and I love the Last Samurai dancing with wolves feelings I
Right.
get from the past flashbacks. The thing that I took away from the teaser that we got and what I've been hearing and what I've been wanting of this, I want the Sopranos in Star Wars. That's what I've been wanting.
Right.
I want him sitting down with the heads of the three families with
It's
Trandoshans and
really
whatnot.
stuck on the Godfather.
Yeah, man. Like there's literally like shots and moments. I'm like, this is me not win might as well be Tom Hagen and being the consigliere to him, be like, no, we gotta go to war or not. That's one thing I've been hearing, and I kind of agree with that. Finnick is right now the most gangster is out of both of them. She wants to go
Right.
in full fight on, and he's like, no,
Freaking
no, no,
Fennec,
there's a
man.
different
She once
way.
ready to shoot everybody. She's like, I'm gonna kill everybody. He's like, just chill.
Yeah, make not
Yeah,
win, man.
I totally get those vibes. And I do think it's interesting. I know I've been talking a lot with Cody on what I guess Boba Fett hopes to gain out of this. Because Boba Fett, obviously the son of Jango Fett / clone of Jango Fett, raised as a Mandalorian on Camino. So obviously, presumably has a lot of those Mandalorian kind of culture maybe and upbringing. So
Right.
like those morals and values. So obviously respect is a huge thing to him. So kind of wondering as the daimo of Tatooine, like what is his objective? Is he in it for the money? I don't really think so. He was a bounty hunter, so obviously money matters.
All right.
But is he in it for just like the power kick or I think that'll be interesting, and I think you're definitely trying to establish that more in each episode on the kind of leader he wants to be, and hopefully we get a little bit more of maybe. I would love the flashback to finish, and you just see
Yes.
maybe a little bit more of why ruling on Tatooine is important to him, or what he wants out of that. Because I think that's an interesting question I have for the show.
Because they've been teasing that. That's
Right.
the one thing I said. I'm like, this is the second time they've shown us the exact same shots, a little bit more extended version in this episode. I'm like,
Right.
okay, we unfortunately we lost the village that took him in, that rescued him, gave him a new purpose, and they just massacred him. Like it was, and you see the little stick, you see the chief was shot down. We don't see the trainer who she's been training him, and she
Yeah.
did the most of the parkour in the train job. So we don't. I presume she's still alive, and we lose those Tusken Raiders. But
Right, which I thought was awful. I mean, the Tusken Raider lore has been developed so well in, first of all, The Mandalorian,
yeah,
right?
man.
Making them, that was a lot of people's first time seeing them if they hadn't played KOTOR, years ago. But
Yeah,
that was probably the first time really seeing Tusken Raiders as anything else other than, these bad guys, right? And then, Boba Fett has done so well, right? They take him in, I know every Star Wars page, everyone I talk to is always like, oh my gosh, I love what they're doing for the Tusken Raiders. I'm a huge fan now, and I totally felt the same. It's like seeing these different tribes of Tuskens is cool, even the different garbs, all that stuff has been phenomenal. And Jon Favreau has done a beautiful job incorporating lore from comics and old video games into present day stuff. And then they go and freaking kill them all. And I was just like, oh, okay. Now
that's
I'm
part of
really
storytelling,
sad.
though. That's part of
And it was
storytelling.
so well done. The
Yeah,
obviously they gave him so much purpose, and how heart wrenching and how obviously alone Boba Fett must feel in that time period. So, and obviously a great setup to why he's going to be pretty pissed that the Pikes are back on Tatooine and messing with
yeah.
his area. So that'll be interesting to see how that obviously all comes together.
And I think that's gonna go with what I thought about Black Chrysanthemum, where he's doing the flashbacks and then he yanks him out of the pod to try to kill him in one eye, which I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's full of what I've read of Black Chrysanthemum. I haven't read all of him in the comics,
Right.
but what I read, he is that vicious, he is that brutal,
Yeah,
and
dude
I
has
mean,
problems.
yeah, he has problems. And I was thinking to myself, okay, they won't kill him. They'll beat
Mm-hmm.
him and probably like trap him, but they won't kill him. I don't think you do that,
Right.
even with the Tusken Raiders. I don't think you introduce that element, whether it be from deep lore or a character from the comics, and kill him
Mm-hmm.
off as a one-off within the episode and a
Right.
half. You maybe send them off another direction, and that's a whole nother new open book, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
in the Star Wars lore that's now introduced in live action, which I appreciate because we got him. I wanted him to join the Fett family.
Right.
That didn't go the way I wanted, but oh well, he still lives. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens and comes around, if you will, towards the end of the this season or series, because they've only said it's 7 episodes. That's all we've
Right.
gotten so far. But besides being the head of family as Finnick, as mentioned, now Finn wants to learn how to ride a Rancor, which I
Right.
am like patiently waiting to see that imagery of probably as a final battle, this big gangster battle, and like what's the big element? We have a Rancor. We the Avengers
Right.
have a Hulk. We have a Rancor, and we're gonna see Boba riding a
Exactly.
Rancor and be like, "Don't mess with me anymore."
Dude, yeah, I don't know what you do if you show up to battle and someone rides a Rancor. I think you just go, yeah, I'm good, and just leave. You're like, hey, not
And I
really
love
good.
the element of like he was not blind, but like they wouldn't let him see anything, and until they took off until Danny took off the covers, the patches,
Right.
and saw Bobo, was just like, all right, that there's that connection. Which apart from Return of the Jedi, we've seen that. I mean, with Muchi in the Bad Batch, that it's like there is a connection with these animals. If you treat them right,
Right.
they will treat you right. They're not just beastly
Definitely.
battle mongering creatures.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, even in the Return of the Jedi, you see the original caretaker of the Rancor, which is obviously Muchi.
Yeah,
Um, you see that he has a huge connection to that Rancor, and the obviously it was probably. I mean, you don't get to see so
mourn.
much on screen, but he's very sad when the Rancor is obviously killed. And I'd imagine that they had a very good relationship. I mean, you even think back to the Force Unleashed, so it's definitely something that's been shown in Star Wars lore throughout the years that Rancor's been a thing, and obviously the comics of having the Dothamir witches ride Rancors. I mean, it's
Right.
just all so fantastic. I mean, there's so much coming, and it'll be so good to see. Like I said, all these setup points are just amazing.
And I'll say this: I think I dug the kids, the new gang kids joining
Mm-hmm.
Bobo's family. I dug that. Their bikes. I like them, but the coloring of them, even in wide shots, I'm like, and I've been seeing people call them similarly. Like it feels like Power Rangers. There's a yellow one, there's a red one, a green one, a blue one. I mean, I'm waiting for the
Yeah,
Megazord to pop up and whatnot.
there you go.
But I dug that. I mean, to me, the one criticism, if you will, constructive criticism I could give it is that it felt like half an episode. I mean,
Yeah,
it went like that to the point that when he said we'll be ready, I'm like, no, don't end it. We just got the mood of this episode, and they cut it, which I'm like, another week I have to wait, and hopefully it's longer than 36 minutes or whatever the time frame was for that. But what's one thing
exactly.
that you could be like, was there any criticism on your behalf that you thought about this episode?
Yeah, I definitely think my criticism, like I said with Boba Fett, I feel like I want to see him fight more.
Yeah,
So I would have actually liked the fight between Boba Fett and Chrysanthemum to be a little more developed, especially between those two. Obviously, if you do read comics, Boba Fett and Chrysanthemum have actually been bounty hunters together, employed
yeah,
both under Jabba Fett, so they do have history. They do are very aware of who each other are.
yeah,
Um, so I'd have liked maybe them to be able to show down a little bit more one on one. Obviously, him getting surprised was cool. Seeing Chrysanthemum's brass knuckles was awesome because that's
yeah,
such a
man.
huge part of his character in comics. Yeah, just a little longer, you know. I mean, if you could have added 5 minutes to the episode, and maybe 2 minutes to the fight, 2 minutes to Boba Fett and Fennec talking, because every time they talk, I'm super keyed in. So like
Yes.
I could watch an episode of Fennec basically saying we should kill everyone, and Boba Fett being like, "No, this is why." Like I would watch that whole episode. So a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more of that would have maybe have been nice to maybe help with some of the pacing because it did feel like we were all right. Here's the flashback to set up the Pikes. Okay, here's Chrysanthemum. Okay, here are the Pikes. Oh, okay. By the way, there was a motorcycle gang, and the mayor doesn't like Boba Fett. Okay, cool, done. So I
Yeah,
feel like if you could have added 5 minutes, you could have maybe had a little bit better pacing, so you didn't feel like you're rushed from things to things.
I agree. I agree. So we'll conclude this with saying the Huts have backed off. They knew they messed
Mm-hmm.
up. They're gonna go back to Hutta. They're saying that this place, Tatooine, is not worth it, and that this land has been promised to someone else, another syndicate. I screamed out Crimson Dawn. I've been saying it. I've been screaming it. I've been praying for it. I'm saying that it would be a missed opportunity if Crimson Dawn is not mentioned, shown, or Emilia Clarke's walks into frame and seen like
Right.
I'm running the shop now. Because I don't know
That
if
would
you're
be
following
interesting.
the recent comics, and again, it's not mandatory, I think, but
Mm-hmm.
it is so much juicier and so much richer if you read War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign,
Right.
where Kira, she's got plans up her sleeve, and I'm calling it, man. Crimson Dawn is gonna show up. I mean, I would love to see Cad Bane. Obviously, I would love to see Boss, Dengar, all the greatest hits, all of the best of the bounty hunters. But to me, the element of someone working in the shadows with the mayor and the Pikes, to me, it has to be Crimson Dawn. What do you think is going to happen besides that sit down that we talked about previously?
Well, I guess, I do think there's an opportunity for someone else to be showing up, and I think Crimson Dawn is the obvious choice. I mean, obviously, with the different ties to the syndicates, obviously, that were originally all under the Shadow Collective, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a good chance that you see the Crimson Dawn. I know the thing that I keep wondering about the most, especially with the Huts backing off, is, are the Huts really done, or are they going to come back at all? Like, it doesn't seem very Huttish to me to be so willing to give up a territory, but I mean, I could be wrong. So I do kind of wonder, okay, are the Huts really done with the area, or is this all just some big power play? But I definitely think we're going to see some warring of syndicates. Obviously, that's going to be coming to a head. So I wonder if Boba Fett's going to make his own official syndicate.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see, because there's a big war coming in. I wonder how much it's going to extend and all the groups that are going to be involved. That will be, I guess, my big thing.
I hope so, man. I hope so. That's man. I mean, the Witches of Dathomir, the Pike. We've been talking about the Pikes a lot, but I mean, just them and seeing how double crossing they could be. Did you know who voiced the main Pike that talked to Boba in the past?
No.
Phil Lamar.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
He has a credit as Phil Lamar doing that. I'm like, oh, Samurai Jack. That's so cool. But yeah, that'll do for this first episode of the Syndicate. Again, yes, the pacing was off for me. I agree. We would like to see more Boba the Barbarian action, which I think it's coming. I think that, like, even with Robert being attached to it, I'm like, that people responded to that action that was made, and we would like to see that more, including the whole mafia vibe growing and growing each week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for if you tuned into this episode. I appreciate it. I would ask that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, could grow it out more. That way I can do more of this and have more guests involved. But for the meantime, Logan, where can people find you and subscribe to you?
Well, I run a page called Star Wars Doctrine over on Instagram and Facebook primarily. I run that with my buddy, so you can come check us out, Star Wars Doctrine, do lots of posts, updates, discussions, things like that. So go ahead and feel free to hang out with us over there, and love to talk to you guys.
Beautiful. And send my hello and greetings to Cody, if you will.
Will do.
Everyone, I'm Ronan Unchained. Thank you for joining the Syndicate, and till next time, may the Force be with you.